All right. So this judge gets a journalist indicted for literally doing his job and seeking public records. Now, what's interesting is the journalist happens to be an attorney. And so I thought, that's kind of interesting. This happens in Georgia. So, felony charges were filed because this attorney was trying to obtain these records. And the judge had said that this attorney was in relentless pursuit of public records. That's what the attorney was charged for. People, you can't make this stuff up. It's just crazy. Seriously, it's crazy. So the judge took matters into her own hands and called up the local district attorney who sought the indictment. The attorneys may even have to have a drug testing done. I'm just like, really? I mean, because they're trying to get some paperwork? Do you think that they're crazy? So it's Judge Weaver, of all things, that's her name, is Judge Weaver, who recommended the charges to the DA. The chair states the Judicial Qualification Commission, which is the very body that... Okay, so all right, hold on, let me back up here. So Judge Weaver, who recommended the charges to the DA, she chairs the State Judicial Qualifications Commission, which is the very body that's supposed to investigate judges for criminal conduct. For real. Come on now. And in my research and the things that I've researched, I came up with the same crazy stuff. I had judges who were sitting on law schools, boards, who were donating and lifetime members, and they were professors there. And then I would go to the Access to Justice program to try and get some help. And then I'm told that I can't get any help, which is a conflict of interest, because if you're going there to get help on your case and your judge is an instructor there, it's a conflict of interest between the school and the judge and the students. So I also did a demonstration one time at one of the colleges in our local town, but maybe one day we'll get into that. So right now, the charges were filed were felony including identity fraud, making a false statement, and attempted identity fraud. So this attorney was trying to find records to support rumors that some court funds were misspent. So he sought for copies of checks that have not been deposited or that were cashed illegally. So what happened was this attorney had a beef with a court reporter. And so he filed suit to obtain some auto tapes of recordings and proceedings and stuff like that. And she got upset with what he had done because she said he had defamed her by questioning the accuracy of the court transcripts. Now, I don't know how, if you ask somebody for information and it's their job and they're saying you are defaming them. Not sure exactly how that works, but okay. So the suit was dismissed and the court reporter then withdrew her actions. But she pursued the Judge Weaver to use a court account funded by taxpayers to cover her attorney fees, which came to about $16,000. So the attorney is trying to obtain information for these checks to find out, did it go into this fund? Did it go for her attorney fees, or what the heck happened? So, according to several of the banks, some of these checks appear to have not been deposited but cashed illegally. Now, that whole statement right there, some of these checks appear to have not been deposited but cashed illegally. So does that mean they went and they just cashed the check and got the money? Or did they, and so they didn't deposit, like cash the check, put it into the bank, deposit it, instead just cashed it and took the money? So that might be another scheme that I have not come across yet, but that could possibly happen. So as for the identity theft charges, has something to do with the fact that the attorney didn't get Judge Weaver's approval before sending subpoenas to a bank where the judge maintained accounts for office expenses. Judge Weaver is suggesting attorneys could be trying to steal banking information. I think that's quite interesting. So then I came across an article when Louisiana's repeat offenders are judges. So they talk about this judge. And this judge I don't even understand how he is still on the bench. So it's Judge Free. I'm just going to use his last name. It's amazing as I was reading it. I'm like, how does he keep staying on the bench? And he's going to be on the bench till 2020. Yeah. So a man named Clayton took this judge on an all-expense paid trip on a private jet from Louisiana to an exclusive Texas ranch where they were turkey hunting. And they had some crawfish. I don't know what crawfish has to do with what they ate, but maybe crawfish is really expensive. I don't know. I don't eat it. So Free was a judge at this district court in Louisiana. And the free trip was organized and paid for by the attorneys with a potential injury case before him at the time. So this attorney Clayton was the attorney for the plaintiff in the case. And the plane that whisked Free to the ranch was owned by the plaintiff's attorney's law firm. And the private ranch was owned by another of the plaintiff's lawyers. So that's kind of interesting. So according to the Code of Judicial Conduct, they make it clear that judges are not allowed to accept any gifts from lawyers or parties who have cases before them or might in the future. Judges must avoid any appearance of impropriety. So in 2004, they suspended Free for 30 days without pay and imposed nearly a $7,000 fine. And the Supreme Court said that he had harmed the integrity and respect of the judiciary. Now, every time he gets caught at this, he apologizes, says he doesn't realize something, I'll never do it again, but he continues to do stuff time and time again. So this wasn't his first time, and it wasn't his last time that he had did something that was harming the integrity and respect of the judiciary. So someone complained about the judge. Of his long history of misconduct. And in 2001, he knew the defendant that was on a case and he refused to recuse himself. He was the assistant district attorney for this defendant on the case. And he had previously prosecuted this defendant. And he didn't think, oh, maybe I shouldn't be on this case. It's a conflict of interest. You think? Maybe? Now, in what I've dealt with, I've actually talked with people. I have a friend of mine who ran against, we both had the same judge at the current time, ran against the judge in a political, he tried to actually get his position. And the judge refused to accuse himself off from his case, which I thought was kind of interesting. Maybe one day I'll talk some more about that judge as well and some of the things that I've got him doing. But anyways, in 2001, this judge was also reprimanded for a separate incident where he refused to recuse himself from a criminal case involving a former client of his private practice who still owed him attorney fees. So Free accepted the past due fees and then unrecused himself from the case. Amazing. Just amazing. So Free was presiding over an environmental class action lawsuit brought by residents. Okay. So apparently his mother lived within the boundaries of a contaminated underground plume that was therefore part of an affected class in the lawsuit. And so he is continued, because it's his mother, he has an interest in this case. So he should have recused himself, but of course, he didn't recuse himself. So the lawyers of the defendant wrote him a letter and stating, that you should be recusing yourself. You shouldn't be a part of this. And then instead of scheduling a conference to discuss the issue, Free calls the lawyer directly. Oh, do we know what this is called? It's called ex parte communications, and judges are not allowed to do that. Now, I don't have a law degree, and I know that. It's probably one of the first things I actually learned about law, and he don't know that. So this man has been a judge for a very long time. So then there is a vehicular homicide case against a man accused of piloting a boat while drunk, and he crashed into another boat and he killed several young men. So after a court hearing, Free met privately with members of the district attorney's office and the member of the victims' families. Ex parte communication. He allegedly was criticized by the defense counsel for not wanting to go to trial with him as a judge because he puts people in jail. According to one person who was at the meeting, Free told the victim's family, "I would have put the defendant in jail for you." Free failed to recuse himself from the case, even though at least one of the family members thought this comment would cause the case to end in a mistrial. So he put himself in a position where his impartiality could be responsibly or reasonably questioned by the defendant and his counsel, and he just didn't think, maybe I should recuse myself off this case. Then he comes up with something that how he just walked in on this meeting going on and he just started, talking or whatever. So, then the judge was found to improperly holding defendants in contempt of court and jailed them without following the state law. And he was also making jokes about domestic violence in the courtroom. And y'all know I'm a domestic violence advocate, so this really doesn't make me happy. So Free joked with a lawyer in court, and he said, "So if you choke them, it's a felony. If you punch them in the eye, it's a misdemeanor. If you punch them in the eye, then choke them, they'll never know you choked them." Not funny. Really not funny. So, I mean, how does this guy stand the bench? Really? His misconduct is serious. It's not an isolated event. He just continues to do what he wants to. So finally, they suspended him for a year without pay, and he had to pay $11,000 fine. That's all. $11,000 fine. We're just going to smack you on the hand. Don't do it again, even though you continue to promise us you won't do it again. But we know you're going to do it again. Maybe they're just doing it because they're getting the money. Because they got $11,000. I think at another point in time, they got like $7,000. Maybe the court's just making money off this guy and they like it. But what was the most interesting is this gentleman was reelected to the bench in 2014 to serve a term through 2020. So I'm sure we're going to hear some more stuff about this gentleman.